A Lucid View of History, Volume 3, Third and Fourth Generations of War. Or, what's love got to do with it?
Welcome to A Lucid View of History. Our goal? Become marvelous strategists at the cutting edge by learning from the brilliant dead. The last time, we covered the first two of 4 generations of war. Now, these generations are characteristics. They are tools that you can use. They are also characteristics, tools, and behaviors of your company, your partners, your peers, your competitors, your customers. If you know these characteristics and your own, you've gathered the basics to become a marvelous strategist. Last time, our time-traveling helicopter took us over first-gen war, and we saw bright squares of bayonets on muskets, orderly ranks of soldiers, all imposing order on the battlefield. We sussed out its characteristics and then saw them in modern technology environments, IBM and Google. When we flew over second-generation war, we recognized the facing battle lines from first gen, but the evolution was obvious. Technology, rifling, cartridges, enabled a division of labor, a combined arms approach. Second gen had a book answer to every question. Still no autonomy, still focused on discipline. These characteristics are evident and valuable, perhaps, when starting a new service. Dealing with sudden change, leading some of these digital transformations, serving broad audiences. What do you think? Kind of sounds like Amazon, Salesforce. Now, we're diving into the third and fourth generations of war. Back into that time-traveling helicopter, the brilliant dead of the third generation are arrayed in the desert. Unchanging arid landscape, and our soldiers are entombed in tanks. They look like toys in a schoolyard sandbox. Here we have our first experience of serious delegation. Initiative is rewarded. Break a few things. It'll be fine. Third generation warfare was innovated by the German army and came into its strength during World War II. Rather than impose order on a chaotic battlefield, they adapted to disorder, took advantage of it. In this generation, speed, tempo, took precedence over firepower. The goal was to present the enemy with unexpected and dangerous situations faster than he could cope with them. They invented non-linear tactics, refusing to hold the line in many cases, preferring to flow like water around enemy strongpoints, push to the rear, roll up forward from the flanks. In North Africa, Montgomery and Rommel tore up the desert as they jockeyed for position and dominance, all while their leaders have little idea or control over what they're doing. Let's hear them. Rommel says, "I would rather be the hammer than the anvil." Montgomery, "In my profession, you have to mystify the enemy." Perfectly matched and exemplifying third generation war. Third generation war focused outward at the situation, the enemy, the result that a given problem necessitated. Leaders at every level were expected to get results regardless of orders. This approach valued initiative over obedience. It tolerated mistakes, so long as they didn't result from timidity. This looks like Agile. Its delegation of responsibility and autonomy shares characteristics with Walmart's and Costco's go-to-market approach. This sounds like federated and distributed digital transformation teams, data stewards, security advocates spread throughout the organization with a matrixed reporting structure. Delegation of operations, with a clear and centralized mission statement. Yes, you can make mistakes, provided you iterate, correct, learn, and pass those insights to the rest of the team. Now, fourth generation war, we're not going to be taking our time-traveling helicopter this time, but this will be memorable. Here's fourth generation war. What about my feelings? I mean, sure, you can take a city, but do you really know me? That's probably enough of that. Fourth generation war resulted from growth in the third. Take the delegated command and continue that delegation down to the infantryman, down to the individual. Fourth generation war thinking considered that, well, not only is the battlefield disordered, but so too is the society in which it's taking place. Fourth generation war differs in that first and second excel at putting firepower on targets. Fourth generation warfare fighters, well, they excel at making themselves untargetable. You can hear the recognition of the distinction between third and fourth generation in a quote attributed to General Petraeus, where he said, "Money is the new ammunition," and that relationships and communication were the new Schwerpunkt, the focus of action. Bringing this to the cutting edge, fourth generation war. Sure, you can capture a city, but can you capture my heart? When you apply that to technology, you can see relationships matter more than domination. You no longer impose the only waterfall development gate when the entire company has adopted the agile development model. Budgets, decisions are pushed further down the organization as teams and individuals directly interact with customers, devise their own solutions. I think it was 20 years ago, I read a book that advocated the use of fourth generation characteristics in business. Tom Peters' The Pursuit of Wow, he didn't reference war, but he advocated devolving the autonomy and responsibility to the individuals on your team in a way that exactly matches fourth generation war. Can you name a fourth generation war company? Well, try every startup. And where do they go? Well, inevitably, people want to consolidate gains. Fourth generation strategy doesn't hold territory very well. First does that. Second can too. When you hear people say, "This isn't the company that I joined," and, "well, we've become all the things that we didn't want to be," that's probably exactly what these people are describing. It's clear no companies and no situations are entirely defined by one generation. For example, first generation Google inventing second gen's zero trust, while most of their product teams act as third generation. Isn't every product released as a beta? While encouraging a fourth gen feeling culture, that is pretty typical. Your goal is to be a marvelous strategist. So you will look at these generations and their characteristics as if they were tools in your bag. You'll recognize that your job is to examine the problem facing you, understand the characteristics used by other participants and those welcome in the environment, and decide which tool to use to create something worthwhile. Those are your hints. Here lies your epiphany. What generation is your company? What generation are your cloud ops, information technology, security, sales teams? Which generation are your adversaries, your competitors, your doubters? What tools will you select from each of these four characteristics that might solve a problem you've been facing for months? How will you employ your resources so that you move to a position where you have a larger number of beneficial choices available to you? Next episode, Nemesis, the inescapable cause of downfall. the kryptonite to your best strategy. Thank you for joining me. Please subscribe to the channel to be notified when the next episode launches. And I'm looking forward to your comments, especially your favorite Brilliant Dead and Cutting Edge mashups.